All right. Let's go ahead and get this started. So we are currently sitting at level 84, and we're just doing nightmare dungeons to level glyphs and level up at the same time. I'm gonna get rid of all of these sigils. Not the jewel. What am I doing? Let's see. We'll go crit and an instant. Let me change my horse real quick.
Father's oath.
Where's that one thing? I have the lantern on? Yeah, that. Let's jump into the dungeon. Where is it at? There it is. Oh, and I'll end up using my Stygian stones I get from with this character to I need to farm up another pair of wild heart boots, and I need a better pair of oh snap, did I not change that? Let me change that back. I was testing out the crown to see if it worked well with this setup, but I wasn't really seeing much of a damage difference. Hey, good afternoon. That's the only problem. Sometimes you kill everything, you don't get to hit anything. I really do love how they finally made the Cataclysm a good skill. I mean, you do have to use the ring, but the ring is so powerful. I hope they don't nerf it, to be honest. I hope they don't nerf the damage you get from it. I don't feel like it's game breaking. I feel like there are far more issues at hand than our Cataclysm ring. I'm so shocked that they nerfed not Beastie Rampage, but Quick Shift. Like, they nerfed it pretty big. Not sure why they nerfed it, but they do a lot of things that I don't understand. They should have just left it like it was. Now, I had enough, I did have enough sparks to get in Andes, but I gotta be honest, when I was playing my landslide setup, I was like, I want to test out Doombringer on the landslide build just to see if that HP really made a big difference, or the chance to proc shadow damage. I don't know, there was just something about it. I really wanted to see the HP. But yeah, it was terrible. Terrible idea. Absolutely terrible idea. Should have never done it. Now I have to either farm up an Andes, or I have to get enough sparks to get one. And then I also have to get a Shaco for other builds. Because after I finish this build, I'm going to make a pulverize build. And then once I get an Andario's Visage, I'll make a Poisonclaw setup. The planner that I currently have is just a rough draft, though. It's not like, I'm not sure how I'm going to set up the Poisonclaw setup, but I think it will be somewhat close to what I have in Mobalytics. I'm just not sure 100% how I want to do it yet. I am making some slight changes to my Stormclaw setup, though. I think I'm going to invest into a lot of ranks into Cyclone. The amount of damage reduction you get from Cyclone is actually pretty significant now. So, I imagine I could probably get upwards to of like 30 or more % damage reduction just from Cyclone. If I get ranks to Cyclone on my gear piece, on my chest piece, and get like a couple greater affix rolls into it. It's definitely far more valuable and scales way better than it used to. It used to scale terribly. Now it actually scales well. And with the Cyclonic Force aspect, you get physical and non-physical damage. So I might not even keep Debilitating Roar if it's good enough. I might end up swapping Debilitating Roar to Bloodhowl. I just have to pick up the points. Oh, I'm also trying, like, werewolf critical strike chance to see if that's better than, say, like, vulnerability damage. See if I can get higher crit chance. Nice, nice. Yeah, I just haven't, you know, hardcore, there's less players, and then also, getting Stygian stones. I haven't went into the higher tiers of I went up to tier 6 and tier 7, but I didn't stay in tier 7. There's an ad in tier 7 that seems to be like hitting ridiculously hard randomly. It's the giant goat dude that you have to kill first before you start the Infernal Horde. Like, one of his attacks just randomly does an obscene amount of damage. It's like one of his basic attacks. I think it's the one where he, like, lifts his weapon with, like, one hand and brings it down. And if he gets lost in all of the madness inside of the Infernal Horde, it's kind of a death sentence if I don't have enough damage reduction. So I'll have to work on the gear before I decide to jump up into tier 7 consistently. The damage is there, but I'm not playing Softcore, so I can't afford to take a one-shot. I think generally the damage reduction is fine, but there's just, like, no reason to chance it. If I was playing Softcore, it wouldn't be an issue, but definitely not in hardcore. It seems to be like the goat people, whatever the goat monster is, the monster type that they use. It's usually the skinny looking goat monster with a kind of like long bladed hatchet that does the crazy amount of damage. It's the one that killed me when I was playing in when I was doing Tormented Beast in the Ice. Actually, it's funny, I have the name of it. It's the X-Kai, or however you say that. Whatever that enemy type is. Seems to be, like, doing a ton of damage. For no real reason at all. Yeah, it's definitely one of those, if you're moving from pulverize to that, you probably won't like the stationary, I guess, the stationary aspect of the build. Like, if you like to move a lot while you play, pulverize lets you move around a lot. I'm gonna make, like I said, I'm gonna make a pulverized build after I finish this. I have a pretty good idea as to what I want to do. I'm pretty confident. Shouldn't take me too long either, maybe within the next couple days. I just have to level this back up, get a decent pair of Wild Heart boots. That's the biggest part I'm missing. I had a really good pair of Wild Heart boots, and I had a pretty decent Fist of Fate, but the Fist of Fate wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that great, to be honest. It's just the Wild Heart boots that I need, really. I just don't want to farm any non-tormented bosses. I don't really feel like doing that. I kind of want to just farm tormented bosses, so I'll just wait till I get Stygian stones to do bossing. Unless I get to the point where I have just way too many bossing materials, and then I'll probably run some. I wish they had like an intermediate version of tormented bosses where you could use more materials but not cost Stygian stones, like something that would like allow you to do that so you wouldn't have to use so many. I really have high hopes for the Andariel's version of this build, though. Like, I think it's going to work incredibly well. I think it's probably going to be, like, the amount of poison stacks you can get. I think it's going to be really, really good. At least I'm hoping it's going to be really good. Yeah, I'm excited to play Shred too. So that'll probably be within the next week or two when I have Shred done. And then I'll have to pick a build to actually optimize, because God knows I hate optimizing builds. Like, I don't really like grinding. But hopefully they leave... I actually wish they would just leave the Infernal Horde reward system like it is and just buff up the reward system from the pit. I feel like the pit is a great challenge for players, but it just needs to be more rewarding. And I think I definitely like getting a lot of gold, so. Yeah, Shaco's, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Honestly, all of the mythic uniques, uber uniques are really, really good. Although, like I said, I would change. I mean, Doombringer does seem like it might need to be adjusted a little bit. I think the damage type is too specific, like shadow damage. Maybe they could change it to something else. And maybe they could jack up the lucky hit chance. I mean, the chance to proc on lucky hit. Yeah, I was thinking about using like Lucian's Crown with base ring or whatever to maybe see if I could jump the damage up. And then I was going to probably spec into Ancestral Guidance to see if I could just kind of get more out of this setup. But I wasn't really, I mean, when I was using the crown, it felt like I wasn't getting any benefit from the damage bonus whatsoever. I mean, I seen the stacks, but it didn't look like when I was hitting stuff that I was actually dealing more damage. So I'm not sure if it's kind of only for core skills or for skill spending. for skills that require you to spend resources. It just says damage, which would make me think that it would apply to any damage you do. It's always this way. Hopefully I'll get an event here. No event. Let me just cool down my ultimate real quick. Next one. You know, honestly, the way they have the Infernal Horde now, I really did like it a lot. I mean, it just feels like you can do anything in there. You can get a lot of gold, you can get a lot of resources, you can get, you know, whatever you need. Crafting materials, masterworking materials, all that stuff. Plus, it levels you up really fast. Like, there's definitely, I definitely know I was leveling up a lot faster in there than doing any other content. So it's kind of nice to have that option when you're done leveling your glyphs to just hop right in to the Infernal Horde and just get a ton of XP to, you know, rush yourself to level 100 after that. I hope they, honestly, I hope they up the Glyph XP again. I still feel like Glyph XP just needs a big buff. I think Nightmare Dungeons in general need a massive buff. Like, they need to make them a fundamental part of the end game, even if it means scaling them up a little bit higher in terms of the overall monster level. Like, instead of just doing 100s, maybe you can get 110s, 120s, get some, you know, and then increasing the quality of gear drops, the amount of gold, you know, everything, Glyph XP, whatever. They definitely need to kind of revamp the Nightmare Dungeon system. Like, there's too much content to lose, and now it just feels like you're kind of burdened by Nightmare Dungeons because, you know, you want to level your glyphs, and it's the only place to really level your glyphs up. So I hope they do that in the future. Maybe for the expansion they could do it. Seems to be a lot of changes coming in the expansion. I'm hoping that after the expansion, the game doesn't radically change all over again. Like, it feels like the last 3 seasons, the game has just radically changed over and over again. But, for the better, of course, but it's just like you're always learning. You just got to keep learning what basic stats do, how they change them, the damage and health scaling of the enemy types, and all this extra stuff. And it's like you can't really give a definitive answer as to what's going to be good, what's going to be bad. Like, I like, you know, and another big reason why I like the pit too, not the pit, but the Infernal Horde mode. The biggest reason I think is the gold, right? It's like you no longer really have to trade players items for gold now, and I mean that's kind of cool in my opinion, because maybe you just start trading players items for items, right? Or you're just gonna have to buy, like, if last season the inflation was crazy, imagine what this season's gonna be. Like, you're gonna be buying items for like 100 billion gold or so, you know, max gold stacks or something. Like, no one's gonna have a use for gold, which I wouldn't mind. I would rather people just give items away. Like, it'd be nice if I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't really like to sell stuff. If I'd rather not have to. I would much have her. I would much rather have like a barter system where like you're asking for certain items or whatever, and you trade items for items. Seems more interesting to me. Yeah, you can use Lucians without, you know. I was actually using the Lucians with my ring here, with the Cata ring, and it was still stacking. Like it was still stacking. I just didn't see any damage output from it, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's bugged with the ring. I don't know. Well, I wasn't seeing any damage output changes when I actually when I didn't even use Cataclysm, so it's weird. I don't know. Yo, I loved Champion's Demise. I lost a hardcore character here with an Erida's Inexorable Will Ring. So when Erida's had first came out, I was playing around with it, and I wanted to see like how many enemies you could pull. This was obviously before they bug fixed it this season, and I went into Champion's Demise thinking like, oh, you know, it'd be funny to see all these enemies get pulled, and immediately they just killed me. I pulled like at least, I want to say, 4 or 5 packs of monsters right on top of my character. It was hilarious. Erida's was like a death sentence in hardcore. Just because it had such a wild range, you could just pull from anywhere and everywhere. You know, I will say, I almost feel like I love the way that they've changed a lot of the uniques and everything. Obviously, they did a great job. But I will say that it almost, I know that they wanted you to have like 2 or 4 uniques on each build. But honestly, it feels like you need like 5 or 6. They're so ridiculously good. And I don't think that's necessarily a problem that they're as good as they are. I just think that they should probably be more specified for certain things, like maybe the damage types and what they actually do are more specific to certain types of skills or certain types of builds, certain types of damage types, things like that. I don't mind. I like the fact that they're really good, but I almost feel like they're just too good generally, like where it can be applied to any build and it'll immediately make that build way better. Because I almost feel like you could make a build with just all uniques and ancestral and mythic uniques. Oh, they get stuck? I haven't had that experience yet, but I haven't like done a ton of Infernal Horde. Just because I've been leveling characters. I wouldn't even be leveling this character if I hadn't have died to that mob in Beast in the Ice. Kind of annoyed me. I was like, how the hell did I just die? 0 stacks, full HP with a barrier on. And this random one mob just comes up and just hits me one time and destroys my character. I had like 60k HP, plus half of that was a barrier, so, you know, roughly, you know, 90-ish K. HP, just blew through it with no issue. And then I was like, man, I was able to survive you know, multiple Lilith waves with stacks on my character, and somehow this killed my character. I know, right? Yeah, no uniques on the totem yet. I'm like, okay, well, eventually we're gonna get a unique totem, and it feels like you're just gonna be running around with a full set of uniques. Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I just think they should be a little bit more specified. It just feels like they're just generally just good. And I think my only other complaint on the Druid is our key passives. Our key passives are just becoming the same key passive. Like, they basically all do the same thing, and the only really unique one is Nature's Fury. And you know it's unique because it's actually really fun to play around with, and it just fundamentally changes the way your character feels while you're playing your character. But the rest of them are just flat multiplicative damage increases, and it's kind of annoying, right? It's like, why did, like, Perfect Storm, they just increase it to 40. It's still useless compared to, like, Earthsign Strength, because they made Insatiable Fury, like, God tier. It's so good. But even if you weren't using Insatiable Fury, like, the conditionals are just really annoying on Perfect Storm. And you'd probably just end up going Bestial Rampage anyway, because you get 30% attack speed and you get 50% multiplicative damage. And then Earth Sign is just, again, another multiplier. It gives you HP when you're in bear form, but, you know, it's just another multiplier, basically. So it'd be interesting if they would do something different with our key passives. Yeah, I definitely need new tempers for Pulverize and Shred. I agree with you. Yeah, last season it was bad. This season they didn't do anything with it. They definitely need to add more tempers. Especially because Shred, I mean, now they made Waxing Gibbous a really decent item, and they changed it in a really good way. Like, adding the adding stealth to your Bloodhowl was so smart. It was such a nice way of changing it. Now that they've done that, like, you know, your crit chance isn't even necessary. Like, you end up building everything else but crit chance. So it's like, why the hell would you want crit chance as a shred, you know, for shred, as a tempering? It's pointless. It's redundant. You don't need it. It would be nice if maybe they had a tempering for, like, increasing the AoE or something like that. Something that was, you know, I don't know, maybe do something in the direction of where it's weakest at, which would probably be like AoE as well as single target damage. So they've made it a lot better for single target, but that's probably its weakest. It's like how much damage it, you know, is always what's going to be the deciding factor as to whether tempers are good. Like, does it add more damage? Is it competitive with the other temperings? Yeah, just something to make it feel like as a, like, optional. At least right now it's not even optional. It's just you don't want it. It's trash. It's like, you can't even make an argument as to why you would pick it up. It just doesn't make any sense. Maybe before you could, because Waxing Gibbous was terrible, but now that you have the way Waxing Gibbous functions, it's like you definitely want to be picking up picking that unique up now. Let's see what we got here. Max life, that's bad affixes. Just trash all this. I still need a perfect overcharge aspect. I'm really close, but just one away. Get our HP. I think it would be also though with the bleed, like it's like we would need stuff to build around bleed though. So, because right now we have poison, we build around poison. So having bleed would be a little bit of It's almost like when they made the shout change, right? They gave Blood Howl and Debilitating Roar shout tag. It's like you could have a bleed, but you don't have anything that really builds around that bleed. You can, just like you know, we now have shouts, but there's really nobody who's running anything for the shouts now. Like, I mean, you can, you can if you choose to, but no one's really building off of the shout aspect of it now. Something that I hope they add in the future is like maybe give us a passive tree for our shouts, and then if they do add bleed or something, maybe they can give us some kind of passive for damage over time effects, because we're missing that. We need damage over time effect passives. We need damage over time Paragon board or something like that. We need those things. Damage over time glyph. We don't have a damage over time glyph, so that's another thing that would be really useful. Just like we don't have a glyph that affects our basic skills, we don't have a Paragon board for basic skills. But I know they're adding a lot of Paragon boards in Season 6 with the expansion, so maybe we'll get something in that direction. Well, I don't know how many they're adding, but I know they are adding some. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that's weird. You know, I've noticed that I wasn't seeing a lot of like pole arms. Wasn't seeing a lot of those at all. Still don't see a lot of them. Pretty bad GAs. Yeah, I don't know what they did. They must have done something, but it seems so weird. Some of the problems that they have, it seems so weird. Yeah, you would kind of wonder how it gets messed up when they it's like systems that they don't even touch. It's things that don't even seem to be getting like buffed or nerfed in any type of way, or fundamentally changed. And then suddenly there's this like odd bug where things start acting strange, or things don't drop here or there. It's kind of interesting. I think I seen someone post out that you would also, when you gambled maces, you would only ever get legendary maces. I think I seen someone say something like that. I thought that was kind of interesting. I could probably test that out in a second. What a useless event here. Keep these keep the people alive when you have exploding poison spiders everywhere. With the new unique lightning gloves. Are you talking about the ascetic wraps? I mean, that's just if you're talking about the, oh yeah. I mean, lightning storm builds, and as well as storm slide builds, you can use ascetic wraps. They're really good. Yeah, they're really good. Unfortunately, they took away the lucky hit chance, which I think was pretty stupid. That was one of the best aspects of the ascetic wraps, is that they had that big, massive lucky hit chance roll, which made it kind of nice because it's really hard to want to invest in lucky hit when you're looking for attack speed and maxed health aspects and willpower. It's like lucky hit chance is kind of an afterthought. So the fact they had a big roll of lucky hit chance on the ascetic wraps was nice, but unfortunately they took it away. But they're still really, really good. Like, it's still a really good item. Yeah, so if you're any lightning storm build or any build that uses lightning storm like storm slide, really good item to have. Although personally, me, when I build a Nature Fury landslide build, I like to go like tornadoes, so mine's a bit different. Living still. 1 mil each. I don't think that's worth it. Well, I think the difference is between the two, like, Nature Fury landslide builds, aka Storm Slide, is going to be better for like AoE damage. So like if you're trying to farm up inside of Infernal Horde mode, you probably do a lot better, just because you'll be able to hit more enemies. But I think for the maximal damage output, you'll probably do better with a landslide setup. But I don't know how many people will try to push Pit this season, because of the fact that Infernal Horde basically just gives you 1,000,000% better, drops than any kind of pit running will do. Maybe for just personal enjoyment, people might do the pit, but you just get so much out of doing the Infernal Horde. But I think at the end of the day, you could go either or, and you probably have a lot of success. I personally just wanted to build a standard landslide setup this season. But I do have a setup for Nature Fury landslide. I just didn't make it yet. Also, you'll get more. I would say landslide is a little bit safer too to play, because you get so much out of the damage reduction from being in Werebear. But you can also play Storm Slide in Werebear as well. Just typically, most of the time, people play it in human form. I feel like they need to rework the way they changed Mad Wolf's Glee too. They need to add that damage reduction back to Mad Wolf's Glee. I also don't think Lupine Ferocity is worth the... It's definitely not worth the squeeze. I mean, it's just... It's just not good. Every third hit, I mean, it sounds okay, but... Why would you choose that over just having like a flat amount of damage output? Yeah, well, if you're using Storm Slide, right? If you're using Storm Slide, you'll be able to reset Petrify far more often, and Petrify will proc your Cataclysm. So it's actually better to go Petrify because of that fact, right? Like you're going to be able to reset it much faster, and going Petrify just, you know, is just a better option. You'll always have Petrify up, and you'll always be able to cast it. Especially with the way it works. So, much lower cooldown, cools down when you kill enemies. It's very easy to do. And then if you're not using the Cata Ring on Landslide, I would obviously run Petrify. Petrify is just a way better ultimate without the... but the only thing that makes Cataclysm worth running is the ring. Like, if you're not using the ring, you shouldn't run Cataclysm. It's terrible. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is like with our key passes, like Lupine Ferocity, it's just like what their solution seems to be is just making them add damage to it. But the problem is what ultimately is happening is that all of our key passives are functioning exactly the same. They're just damage multipliers that do the same exact thing. Instead of like something like Earthen Might, now that they've buffed Earthen Might up, it's, in my opinion, really, really good. And it gives you 100% crit chance. That's a cool way of giving you damage. It allows you to run other affixes on your gear pieces, right? Nature's Fury is really good because it looks awesome and it gives you additional skill procs, and that always looks really cool and it's an interesting way to give you more damage, right? But Lupine Ferocity, Bestial Rampage, Ursine Strength, like and then a now Perfect Storm, they really don't do anything that's interesting. They're just like, here's some multiplicative damage. And it's kind of boring, right? It's just kind of boring. So I hope that they, you know, they keep buffing the damage output, but I think that they should just rework the key passives to be more interesting. Like, they can add damage without needing to just make it a boring multiplier. So I would hope they would do something like that, but from the past patches, it doesn't seem like they're interested in doing that. It seems like they're just more interested in just giving it a flat damage increase until, you know, it's overpowered or the only option. Much like they did with Bestial Rampage. When they buffed up Bestial Rampage, it just became the only option, right? It was giving you this big multiplier plus attack speed. Pretty much everybody uses it. So hopefully they do something interesting, but I don't think so. Yeah, see, here's the issue though. Like, the only ultimate we have now that functions as it should, like, the problem with our ultimates, right, is that they're all terrible except for Petrify. And in order to make Cataclysm good, you have to use a unique item, which is really unfortunate because Druid has pretty limited unique item slots, or like unique aspect. I should say, Druid has fewer item slots than other classes, right? You only get one weapon slot and one totem slot, and if you use a two-hander, you lose that totem slot. And other classes are like that too. So every time they decide to make something good, they usually do it through like a unique or something, which makes it really hard because now you're balancing like, okay, you know, do you want to equip a unique item? Is it going to be good enough to warrant you losing an aspect slot? So I really wish that they would, instead of like just giving us unique, that they would just buff them up, make them work better, and then you won't have to just always, you know, there'll be an argument that you could, you know, pick those up. That's just my only issue, is that they just keep making it better through an item instead of just making it better through the skill itself. They do that with a lot of stuff though. Like, they've buffed Lacerate a bunch of times, but I don't know. I don't really play with it, so I don't know. Like, it's always just looked bad to me. I think one of the things that I thought would be a good idea with Lacerate is if when you cast Lacerate, you can also still cast Werewolf skills while you're inside of Lacerate. So, like, you cast Lacerate and say you're, like, playing a Shred build, you can then just continue to cast Shred inside of your Lacerate. I thought that was an interesting way to make it better, add more damage to it, and make it more useful, right? Same thing like if you use Tempest Roar, or you could cast Tornadoes, or you could cast your Lightning Storm while you're inside of Lacerate. So they could basically, you know, turn Lacerate into what they already have it as, which is more of a utility skill. Gives you kind of like this, you don't take damage, and then you also have a damage buff by how many enemies you hit. Well, if you were able to cast your actual skills inside of Lacerate, then it, you know, now you're just freely casting your skills without taking damage, and you're getting a damage buff. Seems like an interesting way to make it better. But I don't know. I don't know what it would require for them to do that, so. Just things like that. Just unique ways of making skills better instead of just adding damage. Oh yeah, no problem, Wicked. What's up, my son? Yeah, Stormslide's pretty consistent. And it looks cool. It's probably my favorite version of Landslide, like just seeing all of the different elemental attacks going off at the same time, like Landslide and tornadoes going everywhere, and lightning popping off all over the place. it's probably like the best visually in terms of all the different builds that you can make on the Druid. Not my favorite play style, but definitely probably my favorite version of Landslide. Has anybody noticed, like, the reduction in crowd control effects at all? I feel like I haven't really noticed the a reduction in the duration of crowd control effects. I know they said they were going to cut it by a pretty significant amount. I can't remember exactly what that number was, but I still feel like I'm crowd controlled for the same amount of time whenever I do get stuck inside of a crowd control effect. Like freezes, things like that. Those last fears, stuff like that. Still feels like it lasts the same amount of time. I was hoping this season would have a seasonal mechanic attached to it. We still don't know how good a lot of these builds are with an extra mechanic layered in on top of it. I wonder if we'll have one in Season 6 with the expansion. I would imagine probably not, with all the changes that they're going to make. Like, this is the second season in a row we haven't had an actual mechanic that affects our overall damage in some way or some aspect of our character. The last thing we had was that Seneschal pet. Oh man, that was such a funny... That pet was such an interesting choice by them. Like, what they... Like, their idea behind that thing. I thought it was kind of funny. It's like companions, minions, none of those things actually worked really well. And then they make a pet, a seasonal mechanic. So it's an aspect of the game that doesn't even function well. And they make a whole mechanic behind it. And the stupid... Oh my god. The dungeon grind for... The tuning stones. Oh my god. Hated that, hated that, hated that. Although the boss was pretty cool. I hope they bring back the Malphus. I would like to have that as an optional boss to run, maybe drop something unique or whatever. Ugh. see if I have any rewards here. Did I already unlock a dungeon? I don't think so. No. Oh, nice.
Don't be a stranger. Come back soon.
I wonder if I'll ever, like, I wonder how much it will cost. Whoever gets a greater affix on all of their Fist of Fate, like, that would be insane. 4 Fist of Fate greater affix rolled with a 300%. Probably the best item in the game.
Forge is always hot.
Where's that stupid dungeon at? There it is. Wait. Man, I wish I had have gotten that Andario's Visage. I just really wanted to try out that Doombringer. Such a waste of my sparks. Another bad thing of when I lost my character, at Beast, I had all my Stygian stones on me too. It wasn't a lot. I had like 5 of them, but it's kind of unfortunate. And I gotta get another God Slayer too. That won't be too hard though. I have plenty of Andario and Duriel mats. I probably won't run them on Tormented though, because I don't really need those items like that. I might just do base Uber Boss. I would much rather focus on like Beast in the Ice and Zur. Is Zur still bugged? Does anybody know if Zur's still dropping a lot more items than normal? I can't remember if that they patched it or... I think I just want to farm up a good pair of Temerity, a couple pairs of Wild Heart Hunger boots. Feels like every build needs to have Wild Heart Hunger, just because, I mean, Jesus, 60 multiplicative damage, 60% multiplicative damage is pretty crazy. Oh, that's nice. I haven't gotten any out of my tormented bosses. The only unique I got was the one I traded sparks for. None yet. Hopefully when I do get one though, it's one I want, not one I need to break down. I mean, they're all pretty good, right? Materials Might, Starless Skies. I don't necessarily want them, but I probably wouldn't break them down. Just in case I decided to use them for something. I'd probably use Ethereal's Might on a human landslide build. Just to give me that extra damage reduction that's missing when you're not running Werebear. Is it Claw? $68, $67. Oh, they're both the same. We'll just do the 67 and then the 68. I like the Vigil. It's a nice dungeon. Lots of monsters, easy to run. I hope these new cosmetics for Druid. I hope this is a trend. I really like this new cosmetic that they made for the class. I'm gonna have to get a group up together or something for doing Infernal Hordes. Kind of want to take advantage of the fact that you get so much out of doing like tier 7 and 8 right now. Just not as easy to find them in hardcore. Yeah, I do wish they had better, like, I wish every single one had, like, a nice, like, a whole weapon pack or something like that. To kind of keep you, you know, looking the same. They're just so dramatically different. Like, all the different weapon cosmetics look so different compared to, like, the cosmetic that you're wearing. It's like the totem. It's finding, like, a really good totem to fit with the new cosmetics. It's really hard. None of the totems really match anything. I also wish they would just like everything would be included in one pack instead of being like split up and sold in different packs, but you know, it's all optional, so they can do whatever they want. At some point in time, if they make us a Werebear and Werewolf cosmetic, I'll be pretty happy too. Yeah, it definitely seems like it benefits. I love that though. I love the fact that they remove the penalty from the pit for group play too. But yeah, definitely works better with group play. Unfortunately, probably what you'd find in hardcore more would probably be something along the lines of like 4 barbarian groups, like everybody makes a barbarian in hardcore, which isn't really hardcore because Barb never dies and does billions of damage still, so. Like, can Barbarian die? I don't know. Is it possible? I'm sure it is, like, early on. Yeah, it would be nice to test it. You know, it would also be nice if they would extend the PTR to console players, considering it's a huge part of their player base. Like, I even play on my console most of the time when I'm not streaming, just because it's more comfortable in my living room than it is in my office. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if they have a actually like well-designed PTR, and then obviously extend that to console players. More testing, we discover more bugs, everything will be much better. Now I have no damage. Not no damage, but not as much damage. What did I get? I guess I could keep it. It's not too bad.
Horseshoes and nails, which you might have been starting from nothing.
Blind Burrows is pretty good. I like Blind Burrows. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I did get lucky. I will say I did get lucky. I do have the perfect waxing gibbous in my chest. It gives me, it's a GA to shred. Although the crit duration isn't that long, it still, you know, gives me that big bump to my shred damage. I wonder if Bold Chieftain would be good for a shred setup for bossing damage. I have to look at Bold Chieftain. Isn't it the one that I think Bold Chieftain is the one that gives you the cooldown, depending on how many things you hit with your shout or whatever. I don't know. Like on bosses, it's still annoying I'm still waiting for them to rework Nature's Savagery. It'd be nice if Nature's Savagery with Nature's Fury to function with the opposing shape-shifting skill. So I believe it's Nature's Savagery. It basically your werewolf skills count as lightning skills, and your werebear skills count as earth skills. I think it'd be really cool if instead it's just like your werebear and your werewolf skills were just used with Nature's Fury, so that way when you use the werewolf skill, you would use a werebear skill. So like you could pulverize with shred. I think that'd be pretty dope. That'd probably be one of the coolest builds to play, just pulverizing with shred. Or you could shred with pulverize, whatever, you know. A trample rabies would be kind of fun. You just trample through everything and inflict it with rabies. Hey, what's up, Eric? How you doing, brother? We're just trying to level up this Stormclaw back up. I managed to get myself killed in Tormented Beast in the Ice. Apparently it's possibly bugged, which I would agree with. The damage output from that fight is just insanely high compared to anything else. What was I going to show? Oh, yeah. I have this gibbous. I just wish it had the 4-second duration. So, pretty decent. And then I did get lucky and I got this Butcher's Cleaver. Where is it at? Yeah. So, I got a GA attack speed and a GA crit strike against feared enemies. I thought that was pretty cool. And then I have a G8 Pack Leader Spirit Boon for my Storm Companion pants. I got a couple decent things here. Toxic Claws, like I don't know about Toxic Claws. Hey, what's up, brother? I'm not a big fan of barracks. After I finish doing these glyphs, then I'll probably just focus on doing Infernal Horde. Just to, or maybe I'll do, Helltide to finish leveling up my, reward board so I can pick up, some Stygian stones. I don't know. I'll probably just do Infernal Horde, get them that way. Don't you wish our poison damage worked like their poison damage? It could just soak up your whole health bar. I can hear my littlest one yelling at my wife in there. He's probably hungry. He's so demanding, that kid. Everything's much faster in Infernal Horde, man. Yeah. Golly. Even leveling. Now all they need to do is put a chest in there that gives you Glyph XP, and then we can just do the Infernal Horde mode all the time. I thought they'd made some meaningful changes to the boons and banes system they have in there. Like, it's still not transformative to the degree that you would like it to be, but like the invigoration one's really good. And then obviously they made it a lot more rewarding. I think it was just too late in the process. Hopefully they'll adjust it later and make it like really crazy, where you're getting like some crazy boons. But yeah, the invigoration one is really good. Oh snap, I forgot to use my obels. That's what I went back to town and I was like, why did I come here? And then I forgot to use my obels. Yeah, see, the crowd control effect there did not seem like it was any... I don't know, it felt like it was the same amount of time as any other time I've ever been feared right there. I know they said they were supposed to reduce it by a lot, but I don't know. Maybe they did. I just wasn't paying attention enough. Yeah, I agree. I would like a rework on the poisons too, yeah. I mean, Wind Shear it's cool, but it's just so, I don't know. It's not my play style. It's kind of boring. I'm going to make a Wind Shear build just because I really want to try out that Shard of Virthil. It looks so cool. I just haven't gotten a good one yet that's 925. And I have a pretty good build in my mind that I want to kind of lay out. But, yeah, man, I mean, it's just... It's the only one that we have that really gives us a decent chunk of poison damage, and it's just not quite as fun as a lot of the other druid builds. Almost unfun in a way. And I know some people like it, and I mean, obviously that's just preferences, you know, different person to person. But for me, like, holy cow, it will put me to sleep. I can't even tell you how many times, like, I had a plan on like pushing pit tiers and stuff and engaging in like with some of the max roll events or whatever, but I just could not for the life of me. I was just so I don't know, it's just not my cup of tea. But a lot of things like grinding isn't my cup of tea either, like spending significant amounts of time trying to grind out gold to get like better affix rolls on my gear pieces or masterwork crits. I'm not a big fan of that stuff either. So I was really happy with the gold changes like that they made for the Infernal Horde. I hope they never go away. I hope we can get billions of gold really easily so that way we can reroll our items and do our masterworking much easier. Like, you already farmed materials. Just give me my gold. I don't want to have to sell items all the time just to get the gold that I need. Yeah, I agree. Druid definitely needs... There are so many passives that are just absolute dog water. Like, the passives on the Druid that they just don't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I hope they rework it too, because there are just so many passives that you're just like, how has this not been changed yet? Like, how have they... What's up, babe? What? Okay. Yeah, it's like you always wonder, like, how has it not been changed yet? So specifically like the Wrath passives for Lightning Storm. Like, I always say it, but this entire tree here, like, how has this not been reworked? It's such a bad source of vulnerability. Charged Atmosphere is terrible. Both of these are insanely bad. And then no one's using Abundance. Like, it's really bad. Clarity was it like Clarity. I like the fact they changed it, but there's just no room for Clarity. Like, it just doesn't really, like, who's using this? Like, you're just simply not. And with the change to Shepherds, like, no one's really using Clarity now. It's a meaningless buff. A lot of these are just really bad. Some of these are not too bad, but they just need to be buffed. But yeah, a lot of them, this whole tree here, like, this was a nice change of defensive posture, giving you damage reduction, cool. But the rest of this is just bad. Like, all this is bad. Yeah, I mean, they definitely have to do something about that. Well, they don't have to, but they should. Yeah, they definitely have to, but see, that's the thing. It's like they didn't. I mean, there's not a whole lot for just shape shifting in terms of passives, and I agree. Like, that's one of the biggest issues with Shred that I find, is that I have all these skill points and nothing that I really want to use for Shred, so I end up putting it in stuff that just really isn't going to benefit my character to any significant degree. So yeah, I definitely think they definitely have to do more there. They definitely do. Oh yeah, so maces still give you all legendary items, just so you guys know, if you didn't know. The maces one still gives you all legendaries. One hand mace. Full page of legendaries. Well, that's a nice one. Vulnerable damage. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great. I'll keep it. I'll put it in the chest. So for you barbarian players, I think barbarians use maces, right? I don't know. Another vulnerability, we'll keep it. God only knows if I'll end up using this. I know I'm going to put it on my landslide setup, just because I want to run more overpower damage.
Ruin all that work.
Alright, we got all of our HP nodes. Well, we're missing this set. And we'll go ahead and slot in Spirit, get our big damage buff from that. What do we have? Oh yeah, we definitely got to go Bastion of Faith. All the other ones suck. I got to make more incense.
Another happy customer.
Where's the willpower? Oh, maybe the max life one. No, let's just go willpower. I gotta start, make sure I keep going back to Hell Tides and stuff, so I keep getting Tree Whispers done. It's just easier to get your potion crafting materials out of there. I wish your pet picked up Animus. I also wish Animus didn't have like a delay spawn on it. Can't even tell you how many times I've left Animus behind because it delayed spawning in and I having to run all the way back across the map just to pick it up. Maybe instead of just being stuff that falls on the ground, it should probably just fill the meter, like instead of falling on the ground. Running, running, running. I wonder what the companions are going to be like next season. I know that I've seen a couple people say they're probably going to have like some form of companion that runs around with us and does things. I hope that they're more than just like a stat stick. I hope they do something really cool. These are about the only events that are remotely close to the Infernal Horde right here. Might try to, no, I'll just keep going up as I get the sigils. And then we just got to do Bane and Tracker after we finish up our equipped sigils, and then we'll be good. Or glyphs, I should say. Not sigils. Yeah, Bane and Tracker are all I need for the differences. I don't know, maybe Bane Tracker and I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll have to test out some things once I get an Andariel's Visage. I might leave Electrocution on just because Electrocution gives you that big 20% multiplier. But I might change it to something else. Do gauntlets. Let me get rid of these. Still feels like you have to do way too many nightmare dungeons to level your glyphs. I think just the unfortunate part about it is it feels more tedious than it does anything else. I needed my God Slayer back. Yeah, I season 3 wasn't as bad as what people said it was. You know what I wish they would do is they would bring back vaults. I think vaults were way better versions of the Nightmare Dungeon system, where you could just basically race to the end if you're trying, like, you could do basically anything in vaults, right? Like, it was great for gear farming because the reward at the end was really good. And if you were looking for XP, there was densely packed, lots of mobs. But if you were looking for, if you were looking just to get Glyph XP, you could basically just run to the very end of the vault, finish the last area, and then bam, you would get a nice chunk of Glyph XP. So I think it would just be a better idea, just kind of setting everything up in the game like vaults were. I don't mind a lot of these. Go here, pick this item up, do that. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but it just starts to feel like a bit of a task after multiple seasons of doing it. And the glyphs are like, you know, it just takes too long, in my opinion, to level your glyphs. Especially because after 15, it doesn't really... Most glyphs are not that beneficial until after 15, right? So it's like you get 15 and it doesn't really fundamentally change your character a whole lot, if at all, to have level 21 glyphs. It's a decent, you know, little damage increase, but it's not anything to write home about. So I wish they would just make it much easier to cap out your glyphs and just call it a day with the glyphs and kind of go into enjoying some other system that might be better suited for your time. Or make it just far more rewarding to grind out Glyph XP. Put it in multiple things. Like, that's, I think, what makes, you know, last season the reward, the Iron Wolf reward table that they had. I didn't like it that much. Like, it just took too long to level it, and you had to, you know, I just never really enjoyed it. But this season, the fact that you can level that loot table, like, anywhere in the game, and you just play whatever you want to play. Maybe if they did something like that with the glyphs, where you could earn Glyph XP from, you know, doing whatever you wanted to do in the game, and then you would just go to a designated area and spend your Glyph XP, and then just make Nightmare Dungeons really rewarding so people are more inclined to engage with that system. No, Peter. You can't play this build without a unique. You have to have Crone's Staff, right? You don't necessarily have to have the ring, the Malneric ring, or the Fist of Fate, but you have to have Crone's Staff. So, there's no way you could play the build without a unique. You could play it at level 70 if you got lucky and got a Crone's Staff early on. Yeah, you could definitely play at a level 70, but you got to have the Crone's Staff. I'm telling you, they need to change all lucky hits to when you lucky hit, this happens, instead of like, when you lucky hit, there's a percentage chance of this happening. I think if they did that, it would make so many different things a lot better. You could just tell how much better it would be just through the overcharge aspect. Whenever you get a lot of hits off of your overcharge, the amount of damage it can do, versus like not getting anything. Or there's just also a lot of lucky hits that make no sense. I'm surprised they haven't taken out that like 5% chance on lucky hit to heal your character or something like that, or whatever it is. I'm surprised they haven't actually reworked that affix. I'm not even sure how that one made it into Season 4. Or even past the unique changes. There's a couple of these uniques that are pretty bad. Like Fist of Fate I thought was a pretty good one. Like up to a 50% chance to apply a random crowd control effect to the enemy. I thought that was pretty nice. Like a nice way of implementing it into the item. Up this way. I seen a player playing Boulder Cane the other day. I was actually pretty surprised at how good it looked. That's another build I want to make this season, is a Border Cane build. It looks like a lot of fun to play. Make my Border Cane Bear build. I didn't make it last season. Usually I made it in Season 2 and Season 3, but I didn't make it in Season 4. Just because Border was so bugged out and messed up. I definitely want to try it this season, though. Looks like a lot of fun. It looks like it does quite a bit of damage, too. With the changes they made to Dolmen Stone. Like Crone Staff, Dolmen Stone, Fist of Fate, a lot. Those unique items, like some of the changes they made were really good. Just like completely changed the items. Oh, nice. That's not bad, I guess. Not really. It's not good either. I don't really need that. The last Epoch and Grim Dawn players, that's funny. I played Grim Dawn a long time ago. That wasn't too bad. I like leveling with this build, man. It's so fast. I just need more movement speed. I just haven't stopped to get a pair of boots. I feel like I don't want to invest in any boots because I use Wild Heart Hunger boots. I hate putting investment into items that I know I'm just going to get rid of. And I don't hoard stuff, so everything that I end up deleting it, breaking it down for materials or whatever. Yeah, I enjoy. Yeah, I'm enjoying the new season. It's actually pretty good. I like a lot of the changes they made, and they definitely made the Infernal Horde better. The uniques are most of the uniques, man. They made way better. There are a few here or there that are not as good as what they were before, or I just should say, like they changed them and made them not as viable. I would. Like Mad Wolf's Glee, they took away the damage reduction. I felt like that was a terrible idea. There are a few that I feel like they didn't really do a lot to. Ascetic Wraps, they took away the lucky hit chance. I felt like that was a bad idea too. But overall, yeah, man, the season is pretty good. I mean, it's not like anything that's groundbreakingly different, but there are some nice changes. Some of the builds function a lot better, especially for Druid now. Without needing to use Shepherd's Aspect, we can use so many different aspects of our class. Barbarian is still insanely overpowered for another season, so I don't know when they're going to get that under control, but it's not currently. So we have Barbalo Season 4 underway. But overall, it's really good so far. I think all of the changes they made with this season, when combined with the expansion, probably going to be playing a significantly different Diablo at that point. I hope they do something with the gauntlet for the expansion. Like once we get into the expansion, I hope they do something for the gauntlet, man. Feels like such a missed opportunity. It's so sad to see like no one want to play it. No one want to actually engage with that. Yeah, this is my Stormclaw build. I have it finished. I just have to re-level this character because I died to Tormented Beast in the Ice because I believe that fight is bugged. Like the damage output is like significantly higher than what it should be. But I'm making this build, and this build kind of is a segue into an Andariel's Visage setup for a Poisonclaw build that I'm making as well. I have kind of a rough draft planner on that, but I haven't got it fully ironed out because I have to get an Andariel's Visage to actually test out some things. But I think that build, the Andariel's Visage build, will be really, really good. Like, probably competitive with other in-game setups for Druid. I'm really looking forward to testing it out. I just have to get everything set back up for my character. But this is just your basic Stormclaw setup. Well, my basic Stormclaw setup that I'm doing. And it's good enough to get you into in-game content. But I think like I said, the best version would be like a Poisonclaw using Andariel's. They buffed the Mythic Uniques, or they now call them, they were, everybody, Uber Uniques is what they were called, but now they're calling them Mythic Uniques. So they buffed them up by a pretty large margin. So everything works a lot better. Like, when you get a Mythic Unique, it's a noticeable change if you have it implemented into your build in a way that actually works. Like, Andariel's now gives you, like, 30% attack speed. The actual proc off of Andariel's is insanely high compared to what it was. You get a lot of poison resist, but the cool change they made is now you overcap your poison resist. So you can break your resistance cap on poison with the Andariel's Visage, which actually makes it useful. Before you couldn't. Now I think it's like 10% more poison resistance. So all this poison damage I'm taking now, I wouldn't be taking. And then they gave Shaco 30% cooldown reduction, I believe it is, at base cooldown. It's 30%. They gave it a massive amount of cooldown. It's like 20 or 30%, I can't remember. Basically, the Andariel's Visage build is this build. It's built a little bit different, but it's basically this build utilizing a ton of Lucky Hit to proc your Andes, like, with your Cataclysm over and over and over and over and over again. Your Cataclysm and Stormclaw. And you're basically just stacking up a ton of dot on top of the enemy, so it ends up being millions and millions of damage. I just haven't got to test it out yet. And I have, like I said, I have a rough draft, but it's not fully ironed out. It should be good enough to get whatever, for if you're trying out the build, it should be good enough to function. But in terms of like what items I'm using on it, stuff like that, I'm not too sure on. I know I want to use Temerity. I really like Temerity for giving you that extra tankiness, basically doubling your effective HP pool. But I'm not sure everything else. Like, for me, Temerity is really good. I like Hardcore, so having that big giant barrier that you can constantly regenerate feels nice. plus temerity on Druid works really well. I had a temerity wind shear build last season, and I was really happy with it. And spiders everywhere, man. Make sure I didn't. I'm gonna have to backtrack. I already know it. Also, the new Infernal Horde mode, it gives you so many, it gives you so much in terms of like gold or crafting materials or even masterworking materials. Pretty much everybody's doing like Infernal Horde mode to get all of their. It does everything except for give you Glyph XP. Like it gives you a ton of XP to level up. It gives you tons of masterworking materials. It gives you tons of gold. Like you're basically, and I mean like billions of gold. You can farm billions of gold when you're doing like tier 7 and tier 8 really fast. So I think it makes it a lot better. I just hope they don't nerf it. I know they probably will though. They're probably going to nerf it. They'll probably leave it for this season just because it's a short season, but I'd imagine it does not make it into season 6 this way. Oh yeah, I hate. I gotta get some more movement speed. This is about the only thing you need a lot of movement speed for, because everything else you don't really need too much. That and Hell Tides. Those two things. You don't need movement speed too much for the pit. You don't need it too much for, you definitely don't need it for Infernal Horde. Nice. This probably get me 93. You know, I wish they would allow the damage to scale on overcharge too, not just the % chance to lucky hit. Like it scales with your item power level, but I wish it would scale with just in general as you get more as you get better overcharge aspects, it would scale up some. I feel like it could do a little bit more damage. Lubin's Rest. Had to see if somebody wants to run some dungeons or something. Finish these things a lot faster without running them solo. Open the gate, bro. Always spawn so many of these oppressor demons. I wonder why. I'm not gonna complain about it, but it is kind of funny. Alrighty. Good old Angel's Breath. I'm glad we don't need that to enchant anymore. Shit was expensive last season. I would always run out of it. Everything was expensive. I'm just gonna go to the boss instead of wasting time with these guys. Alrighty. Only five more glyphs to go. Good God. Back in. I need to stop and upgrade my gyms. That's what I need to do. I think I might take a second and do something different just because I'm getting a little bored of the Nightmare Dungeons. I feel like my eyes are starting to get heavy looking at these stuff. Might go do some Helltide or something like that, or some Infernal Horde. Do like a tier 3 or tier 4 Infernal Horde. I think the scaling for the Infernal Horde is so off. It's like it goes up 20 levels at a time. That's such a different feeling for each level. Like, you're like, I did tier 3 fine, and then you hit tier 4, and it's like, Jesus Christ, 20 more levels than what your current level is. I think I might forego the HP roll on my amulet just to get cooldown, attack speed, and crit chains. I think cooldown on the helmet with Godslayer or Shaco. I think a Shaco would be the best option. Although, really wouldn't do anything for our damage because it, you know, we don't really get much out of the damage from our basic attack. It would give us that cooldown. Although I probably think Godslayer at the end of the day would be the best idea. Just Shaco gives you that big damage reduction. Lots of HP too. I should have enough skill points to put my last glyph in. Yeah. All right. I wonder if they're going to be expanding on the renown system for the season. That's probably why we're getting more. Probably one of the reasons why we're getting more skill points or paragon points. Sepulcher. I don't have that unlocked. Let's go do a level letter monster 110. I think we can do like a we'll do like 120. Yeah, it has a lot of utility. I don't really need that, though. Probably more concerned with damage. The cooldown is the best part, but I think if I get enough cooldown from my Godslayer, like it... Not necessarily a GA on it, but... I mean, honestly, just having more attack speed would give me the cooldown I need. And I like the grouping aspect of Godslayer. Pulls everything together. That's one thing we definitely need. We need a pull, man, on this class. We need just a basic skill that pulls enemies in, like clusters enemies together. Hellborn enemies. Surprisingly, even with the Cataclysm up, you still feel like you don't do a lot of AoE damage with Stormclaw. So you just got to get something that pulls enemies. Clusters them all together like the Godslayer Crown. I would like to use Eridas, but there's just no room for Eridas. Yeah, I definitely need to have Godslayer. This takes too long. Soul Spire. I've only gotten one decent Godslayer so far. The rest of them pretty trash. Either Fiends Explode. We'll just go with the Hellborn again. Yeah, I think that they should just give honestly, I think they should just give those like a skill like Shred a higher AoE. I just feel like there's too many other skills that do everything. Like Pulverize does everything, right? Landslide, now you can build it to where it basically does everything. Tornado, Lightning Storm, all these skills have better damage, roughly better damage, and significantly better AoE. So I feel like Shred definitely should just have some built-in AoE there. Out of health potions. This needs to be way more Aether than 15. 50% more damage? You gotta be kidding me. Got all these stuns. Well, the good thing is they've clustered themselves together. So, good God. We'll just do the masses. I gotta pay more attention to my buffs. I'm not even keeping my buffs all the way up. That's another problem. Just keep my buffs up, for crying out loud. Then things actually die faster. I was just kind of doing, going on autopilot there, not really paying attention. Man, that was a long stun duration. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like that was, like, I feel like that's a long stun duration. I don't feel like, it was cut back by whatever. I gotta look back at the patch notes. I thought it said a lot. Like, that felt like I was stunned forever. It's like no damage without my Cataclysm up. Take the gold. Let's go do a Hell Tide. Wait. Hopefully we can get to the world boss before they kill it. I didn't even know it was about to be up. I don't ever pay attention to those things anyway. Probably should, but...
I need more time. I need time to do that. I need more time.
Oh, never mind. 3 minutes? I'm not sitting here for 3 minutes. It's way too much time to waste.
I need time to do that.
I'll see you again. I'm the only merchant with jewels like good result.
Let's craft us like a level 80. We'll craft like a level 80 sigil. Not the best, but
Let's have a look.
we'll see how this goes, and then if it goes well, we'll use the Wretched Dell one. think pulverize or boulder cane would probably be my favorite farming builds for the type of dungeon. Probably, honestly, it would probably be boulder cane. I feel like if you get your boulders up enough to where the damage is just one-shotting everything in a tier 8, then it'd be really good. It's the moment when you're not one-shotting stuff and things just get knocked around and it takes forever to kill stuff. That's when boulder doesn't feel as good. I feel like pulverize on bosses would be just a little bit annoying. Probably not once you have it optimized, but at first.
I must wait.
Well, where's where's the stones at? Yeah, this isn't too bad. I just need a little bit more damage. Hey, what's up, Mike? How you doing, brother? We're just trying to get this build level back up, get our items again, and then get an Endario's Visage. After I finish this build, I'll probably move on to a pulverize setup. Yep, there we go. And then I think we should be good to remove this. I think my resistances should be pretty close. Yeah, they're pretty close. So I'll roll attack speed on that ring. It'll be over 70 at that point, I think, with the gym in the ring. Another sepulcher. Nice, nice. Yeah, it's super easy to level now, especially if you have like some people that you play with, or if you have anybody that will help kind of carry you through the content. There's with the fact they took away that cap on experience from fighting things that are above your level. I still wish there was a way to like bank your XP with your primary character and then use that XP that you gain on a alternate character. I mean, they're pretty generous on leveling compared to other popular ARPGs though, so definitely cannot complain. Oh yeah, that mine cage stack is so nice, man. I'm so glad they didn't take them out of the game, but instead made them even better. Like, what a good... Now, if they would only do that for every single thing that they've done really well, like, just don't take it out of the game, just make it better. I feel like they do such a good job with some of the things during the season. It's kind of sad that they have like this like all or nothing approach to for the changing of the seasons. So it's kind of nice to see them not take stuff that is pretty much everybody universally loves out of the game. Could you imagine Hell Tides if you could only use, if you didn't have mine cages now? It'd just be like nowhere near as fun. You don't get as many shards. There'd be basically no challenge. You're just kind of like roaming through there. At least now there's a little bit of a challenge, or the challenge just lasts a little longer. I mean, at some point it's super easy to kill anything 30 levels above your character or whatever, but at least for a little while it works really well. Yeah, 2 seasons to the base game. That's what's crazy. I was saying earlier, now all they need to do is bring vaults back and make Glyph XP universal. Like, make it where you can earn Glyph XP anywhere in the game. And then just buff Nightmare Dungeons to, like, actually match a lot of the other content. And then we'd have it perfect game. Well, not perfect, but it would do a lot. Like, this Glyph XP grind is just so tedious. Even after they've increased the Glyph XP by a lot, it's still pretty tedious. Definitely my least favorite aspect of making a new character is the Glyph grinding. Yeah, it definitely looks like a really good class. Lots of great AoE abilities. We'll see how well it works, though. Most of the time, like every game, once you introduce a new character, typically that character is overpowered. So I fully expect it. But the question is, will it be as strong as the Barbarian? That's the only question. Or will it be stronger than the Barbarian? It's going to be pretty funny if we go into Season 6 and Barbarian is still like this ridiculously overtuned class. And then you have the Spiritborn. And the Barbarian just run around one-shotting stuff, and the Spiritborn's like, you know, it's decent, but it's no Barbarian. Yeah, I think there's going to be a bunch of new stuff, man. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff we don't even hear about, which is kind of cool. I'd rather them keep, like, little... Just like the pet, when they gave us the pet, I'd rather them keep little things a secret. Kind of surprise everybody with stuff. I did. I made a base landslide druid. So last season I made my version of a Nature's Fury landslide druid. This season the first build I made was just a standard landslide build using Werebear. I actually put that video out yesterday. And it's really good. It doesn't require any optimization to really complete all the content in the game. Like, you'll delete tormented bosses very easily. Like, it's very good. I just haven't optimized it out yet myself. Yeah, everything with the Spiritborn was pretty flashy. The Spiritborn feels like, I feel like the Spiritborn feels like it belongs in Diablo 5. All the other classes belong in Diablo 4. The Spiritborn looks like it belongs in Diablo 5. Like a whole new version of the game. I hope that they go back and, like, just add some flashiness to all the other classes for their skills. Make it a little bit more exciting, because, man, when you have stuff like that, it just, even if it may not be as powerful as this or that class, it still looks really cool, and just makes you want to play the class. Oh, you said you didn't like it. Yeah, I thought they looked cool. I thought they looked cool too. The gorilla. Are you talking about the damage? Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm sorry, I read your comment wrong. So yeah, with the way that they function, there's a potential for them not to be as good. Like, they definitely look really good, but I agree with you. It's like when the way they function matters. Like, casting in a circle around you is kind of, like, if it doesn't move with you and it just casts in a small AoE with the way the game plays, yeah, I could see why the ultimates wouldn't be as powerful. Yeah, the centipede actually is fine, because it actually shoots a beam out. But, like, there are some parts of the ultimate, like the other ultimates, that don't quite function like that. I think, like, the gorilla one has to use, like, stands in a circle. The bird one, I believe, actually is a quick little ultimate. I don't think that would be affected. I don't know. We'll see. Typically, ultimate skills are pretty unimpressive. So, At least from Druid's perspective. They're not very impressive. God, you gotta love this stupid Stormwrath, man. I still one of the most annoying dungeon affixes in the game. Cannot stand it. Hate it. But at least we no longer have lightning storm, so, or whatever it was called, lightning. Can't remember what the modifier was for the dungeon sigil. It's like a lightning storm or something like that. It's actually funny, when I was, the boon system for the Druid, what they did for the Spiritborn was exactly what I wanted them to do for the Druid in terms of how their boons function. Like, you can, you know, kind of like specify, I shouldn't say specify, but you can kind of, specialize into a specific aspect of the class and then kind of, make it stronger or make it, you know, possibly combine different aspects of your class. That's almost exactly what I was imagining for the Druid when I was wanting them to like rework the Spirit boons. I still hope they rework the Spirit boons in some meaningful way instead of just keep buffing them. I mean, they're not bad now. They have a lot of good, you know, there's a lot of good buffs that they've done, but I just think it's a bit unimaginative. Just bland, kind of. Yeah, I agree with the, you're typically needing to run fast and deal damage quickly and move quickly. But I will say, like, if it's really good on bosses, you know, if it's good on bosses, I could see where it wouldn't be. But if it's not powerful on bosses, then... Because bosses are a little bit more stationary. Most bosses. Yeah, and we also have to see all the different aspects and all the different unique items they have that are, you know, that are going to be fundamentally changing the way those specific things work, those specific skills. So there's a lot we still have to see before we can make a solid decision as to whether something is good or not. There's a chance it'll be insane, like even, but there's always a chance it'll be really bad. Like anything. I'm actually trying out like a werewolf crit chance, like werewolf skill crit chance to see if it actually works really well with this. I have werewolf crit strike chance on my amulet. It doesn't specify if it's for skills or if it's WoW. It seems like werewolf critical strike chance seems like it should be WoW in werewolf form. That's how I would read that, but I could be completely wrong. Yeah, there were quite a few of those dungeon modifiers that were pretty unplayable. Just did too much damage.
Bye then.
I was thinking about the one with the bubble, like the spawn the bubble that you had to hide in. I can't remember. It's like lightning something, lightning storm, lightning. Can't remember specifically what they called it. They removed it, so it doesn't matter. There we go. Throw some temp rings on here.
Will favor you.
I'll take attack speed or crit chance. That's fine. And then get Cataclysm cooldown.
You need steel work? Repairs?
There we go. Damn, another one that I can't use.
Such poor equipment. Let me help. Let's stay on the path. Heed no evil.
I didn't leave anything in here, did I? I used this right. Yeah, I did. Oh yeah, I agree, Mike. That's one of the best things I think they get out of the game. Skill interactions, bro. That'd be so cool. Like you, I don't know if anybody's played the mobile game, but the mobile game had a lot of skill interactions. You could like set your tornadoes on, like wind skills could be set on fire by fire skills. You could refract beams of, you know, damage onto enemies using different abilities. Like the mobile game had a lot of cool stuff that was implemented into that game where you could work together and make your actual abilities do something different depending on how your, you know, your team was kind of made up. It was really interesting. I thought it was really cool, and I'm kind of sad not to see it in this game. Like it'd be really dope if like sorcerer abilities, necro, all that stuff kind of worked together like in tandem to create a better ability. It would make for some meaningful team ups, you know. Yeah, I definitely hope that they do something like that because it was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy that aspect of the mobile game. I know a lot of people hated it. I hate the idea that they made a mobile game, and I'm not a fan that they made a mobile game. But I thought a lot of the things that they did in the mobile game were actually pretty smart, pretty interesting. I'd love to see more stuff like that. Yeah, anything really would be, like, anything to make your gameplay experience a little bit more, I guess, unique, depending on what kind of class you play or what version of the build you're playing with your class, or what kind of team you're in, like, whatever they could do. I just think that there are like, they have it in other versions, like other Diablo games. So. There are literally things you can do in the mobile game that made it a lot of fun to play in groups. It's much more of an MMO light than it is an action RPG though, so that's probably why. It's an action RPG, but it's got so many MMO elements in it that, I mean, this does too. There are a lot of MMO elements, but not quite as much as what's in the mobile game. I think providing more variety of play style isn't a bad idea. I don't think I don't think you should need to do it, but if it exists, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I agree. I feel like they fall back on that too often. Like, oh, well, we wanted this to be this way or that. It's like, why does Druid not have resource generation? Like, just give Druid resource generation, for crying out loud. Like, most people universally agree, like, the leveling experience with Druid is far behind any of the other classes. And honestly, Barb would be in the same boat if Barb wasn't so overpowered. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the fact that we don't have resource generation. And also, like, mobility. Like, there needs to be a lot more movement speed offered at early levels, too. But, I mean, really, it's like resource generation should be it should be across the board on every class. Like, Barbarian should generate Fury. Druid should generate Spirit. It shouldn't be... I mean, I granted in the previous games that was the case, but this is a different game. So I don't know why that they're so hesitant to put Spirit generation on those classes specifically, considering that Spirit generation on other classes doesn't make them overpowered. It's like it's not what's pulling their class above other classes. In fact, I mean, that's a perfect example of that is the fact that Barbarian has been the most overpowered class for 4 seasons in a row now. So it would be nice if they would kind of like understand, like, mobility. The reason why a lot of people like a lot of like certain classes is because high mobility. Like, more mobility is better. Like, adding more mobility to the class, and not mobility that you have to actually go and pick up through a, you know, some kind of skill point or through an item. It's just nice to add more mobility to the base class. Like I've said since the game launched, I think it would be really interesting if they would just give you like a 0.5% movement speed on your character every time you gain 1 level, so that by the time you reach level 100, you are already halfway to movement speed cap. And then you wouldn't have to invest in it so heavily on your affixes, right? You wouldn't have to worry about being super slow if you didn't pick up a bunch of affixes, or you didn't have like specific you know, passives. I just don't think movement speed should be something that you know, that you kind of gatekeep. I mean, it's fine to do it a little bit, but having high movement speed does not make the game, like, does not break the game. Most of the bosses, everybody, all the enemies, they all run faster than you even anyway, so. I gotta figure out why this boss is always so much stronger than all the other bosses. Like the damage output. It's not crazy, but it definitely is a lot more than any of the other bosses. I'll be right back, guys. Yeah, I mean, you got to think about how long did it take them just to make companions decent, bro? I mean, it seemed like they did not want companions to be like a playable build for Druid. Because every time they would mention it, they were like, "Oh, I guess you guys want companions to be a thing." It's like, bro, duh. I don't know if you guys know this, but like that's what was one of the biggest, you know, the best builds. People love playing companion builds. It's like every time they mention something, it's like it's surprising to them that people wanted it to be that way. And I agree, like the Druid has like so much variety to it, but it does feel like ultimately you're kind of baked into specific passives, specific everything, because they're just so much better than everything else. Like it's not even close. Like poison doesn't scale well, so you can't, you know, making a pure I mean, I think that's pretty obvious now. Like one of the wolves builds, right? Like wolves are now your best companion skill. Even it was already the best one in terms of damage output, but now it's by far clearly the best one when you look at the companion. When you look at the companion pants, I mean, you're getting all this extra stuff for wolves, even though they're called companion pants. They just give you a bunch of extra stuff to wolves, and then, you know, the only one that's kind of generally good is the pack leader buff. So it does feel like they're, I don't know, they're limited in where they, like, their vision as to where they see certain aspects of certain classes going. It is kind of annoying. I can't, how many times have they buffed rabies and rabies is still bad? How many times, I mean, this is another buff they did to rabies. It's not that it's, you know, it's not that people want these things to be broken. They just want them to be like an option. Do you want to play this build in the end game? Yeah, I'd love to play a rabies build in the end game. Well, you got to do something with poison, the way poison damage scales. But then if they do something with the way poison damage scales, there are probably other classes who have some kind of broken issue where if they changed it, then suddenly they would become ridiculously overpowered. But I don't know. I mean, even for Barbarian, what, last season, they finally had, like, what, the bleed build, whatever the bleed build was. Now, all of a sudden, you can't even play the build. So that's unfortunate. Like, I wish they wouldn't do stuff like that. Charge, too. Like, Barbarians had charge builds and stuff. That stuff, people love that build. The charge builds from Season 3, like, that stuff was a lot of fun for people. And then they changed those. Was it Season 3? Yeah, I think it was Season 3. Maybe Season 2. Season 2. So it's like you don't ever see anybody playing just a charge build now. I think it can be hard to make, like, everything pretty, you know, everything viable. However, like you said, well, you know, again, you were referencing PoE. I agree. Like, this isn't a game that has like 200 skills. You know what I mean? Like, there's not all these different variations. So it should be much easier for them to kind of sit down and balance it out. But one of the things what Dijo said is, like, Blizzard's never really good at balancing their games. So I will say, like, the game is definitely in a much better place than what it was last season in terms of class balance. They still have a lot of work to do. So hopefully in Season 6 with the expansion, they do like just a huge, like, overhaul on class balancing. And that way it's not so... oh, I forgot to put this one back. This is another thing they could change. Why should I want to be able to put all these things on a pedestal at once. I don't mind, man, I'll tell you what, I've always been, like, more interested in, like, skill stuff. So broken for me, I don't mind if things are broken in a, I guess in a way that isn't, like, game breaking. For instance, like, your hardest difficulty bosses, tormented bosses, are getting one shot. And I mean, I made a build that does that, so I'm just as guilty as anybody else, but I think that's too broken. I think there's, you know, when you can create a build that doesn't require optimization, any min-maxing whatsoever, and you can just just destroy everything that exists in the end game, outside of maybe like content like the highest tiers of the pit or something, which is really just damage scaling. It's not even difficulty, it's just damage scaling, because everything just has more HP. I think that's an issue. I think the meta for the game, like where the game is at in terms of like enemy power and enemy HP, is far and away outscaled by player power. Like, you can kill just about anything and everything with an unoptimized build like a week into the season. So I don't mind broken, but I think broken in a way that isn't game breaking. And then also like broken, but not in a way that you're like, I would say like 10 to 20 times stronger than the other classes. That's too broken. That's like game breaking, not broken. The partnership? What do you mean with the through Mobalytics? Are you talking about the mobile? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of broken either, but I think that simplicity in terms of like building out your character is fine. I think allowing for skill to shine as well is important. So I mean, you can have players who find their, you know, find the excitement of the game through interesting boss fights, stuff like that. I prefer that stuff. That's what I like. Interesting boss fights, things where I have to use my use actual skill. I'm not a big fan of like just face rolling things and blowing through all the content too fast. Yeah, I agree. Like using shapeshifting, I don't hate it, but it is tedious. Especially because you have to do it every single season. Like, you just constant shape-shifting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There's no alternative, and that is... I mean, you can use human stuff, but it's, you know... not quite as easy. Yeah, so the mobile lixing's pretty good. I mean, it's not anything crazy, but I've made, I think it's now $300 off of just the Mobalytics stuff, so it's pretty cool. And I don't even have to do anything. I just upload stuff to Mobalytics. I was doing it before. They just decided like to put me in their creator club, so that's pretty good, you know. I took a little break from Diablo, so wasn't really doing too much. So that's the only thing I've had so far. And then obviously I'm partner on YouTube, but you don't really make much money off of that. And I stream exclusively on YouTube, but I might start working on like streaming on X. I might stream on Twitch. I'm not sure, but just because on Twitch it's probably more. The Twitch is a platform where the you know, there's like a culture of subscribing to a person's channel. They have the Amazon Prime subs, things like that. And most people on YouTube probably aren't gonna go too crazy with like donating or anything to your channel. But I don't know. It's not a big deal for me right now. I'm just more interested in like making content and growing my channel. It's like secondary. Whatever happens, happens. It is also easier to stream on Twitch with the overlays and stuff they have. Like right now I'm using my cell phone as kind of read chat off my cell phone because my tablet is broken. So it's easier to read chat there. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely I'm happy with the $300, trust me. I made $300 playing games. That's crazy. To me, that's crazy. It was crazy when I was making my first videos and I was getting people were watching my videos, so. I don't think it will ever not be crazy. Like, I look at my analytics now, and I'm like, people have watched me for this many hours, like, watched my content for this many hours. And, of course, it's not like anything like a larger, you know, content creator there. But, I mean, it's still crazy to think that people have watched your content that you've made for any large amount of time. I think a lot of people might lose sight of that. I don't know. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are very grateful for their ability to make content that people enjoy, and they can do that for a living. But then there are those people who think that streaming is harder than a 9-to-5 job. And those people are completely delusional. I don't know how they could ever think that unless they've never worked a 9-to-5 job. Oh yeah, he stole the tablet. And then I found the tablet the other day, and it was underneath our recliner, and it was about bent in half, and the screen was popping up off of it. I had wondered where it went for so long, but I had just not taken the time out to search for it. And then I found it underneath our recliner. It was, I guess, jammed up in the gears, and it was completely destroyed. And the funny part was it was just outside of the warranty date, so I'm just sticking around with my cell phone, which is hilarious when you think about the fact that I play hardcore, and all the time in order to talk to you guys, I'm sitting here looking down at my cell phone, which is below my monitor, off to my left-hand side. So I'm like trying to read this tiny text on my cell phone, just all the time looking down. It's probably the dumbest idea you could imagine a person doing when they're playing a hardcore, but I don't care. At the end of the day, like, I like to be social and I like to have conversation. And I can talk about just about anything. Well, I couldn't watch myself for hours either, so. And I think that's a good thing. I think if you can watch yourself for hours, there might be something wrong with you. Like, you might need to go and get some help, like, quickly. Because if you can watch yourself for hours, that's definitely on the crazy side of things. So, yeah, I guess that would be the dumbest thing you could do. It's like, let me check the other screen. Yeah, Alt-Tab out in Helltide. Back when you could get blown up by the falling meteorites. I've never done that. But last season, I did have my controller randomly decide to stop working and kill my character. I've had that happen. Oh, nice. 2 events. By the way, that's my son in the background. If you can hear him, he's in here with me. He has come to pay me a visit. I gotta get better lighting in my room too. That's one thing I need to invest in. I have a ring light, but I need to get better lighting, like softer lighting. because I cannot stand using my ring light. First, it gets really hot. Like when I'm recording a video, it gets hot in here from that light. And secondly, it's just too bright for my eyes. I really don't like it. So I gotta get some better lighting too. Because I'd like to use my cam while I stream, but man, I cannot stand how bright it makes my room. I need some like soft light that will allow my camera not to get all fuzzy, but doesn't like kill my eyes. Maryland Fort and I know about the Iranian Hulk, but I don't know anything about Maryland Fort. What happened? What's that about? Is this something that I need to look up? The Iranian Hulk guy is the guy that wears a bunch of clothes on top of each other, right? To make it look like he's really big. I think I do know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, at a quick glance, it looked like you wrote Maryland. I don't know why. I know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about. That guy, the Martin Ford guy, he's the tall dude with all the tats, right? He was part of like 5%. Was he part of like the 5% nutrition that Rich Piana used to own? I remember he was supposed to fight the guy, but the guy was like way smaller than what he was supposed to be. Didn't he like shove him down? He like pushed him down really hard. The guy was like, oh hell no, I ain't fighting this big dude. Wasn't that around the time too that Halfdor fought Eddie? She was crazy. That was when everybody was trying to do the YouTube boxer shit. Like, everybody was trying to do it. Everybody. Yeah, I don't know why anybody ever thought that, like, bought into that guy anyway. The dude clearly was, like, not as... He clearly wasn't that big. Like, he was clearly padding himself up. Nobody's muscles are shaped that way. Like, he looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And he was just doing stupid stunts and stuff that... I remember, I also remember when Halfdor fought, the arm wrestling guy. What's his name? I love the guy. He's really interesting. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. That I will say that one was stupid. I was like, why is he fighting the man? Crit chance, good attack speed. That's really good. Where's this stuff can go? I'll keep the ring. Fight half Thor. Yeah. That would be interesting, but I will say, like, he was boxing seriously. Like, he took it very serious. When he boxed Eddie Hall, like, Eddie Hall, I think, had a boxing background or had some kind of fighting background. But he stopped taking it serious, and then he fought Thor, and homie just got obliterated. It would be interesting to see, though. I would imagine, though, it would probably end up much the same way. I mean, it seems like Thor takes everything pretty serious whenever he decides to do something. He does MMA too? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if he would. I don't know if it'd be good MMA match, just because if you've trained MMA for a while, yeah, you're probably just gonna beat the hell out of whoever you're playing, whoever you're fighting against. I mean, you take them down to the ground; they have no idea what they're doing. You choke them out, or you just punch them in the face until the referee steps in. So it'd probably have to be something like boxing. It would be interesting, though. I will say that is gifted as Halfthor is genetically in terms of his overall size and strength and ability to kind of put on muscle mass. He isn't necessarily the fastest person, right? Like, he has... so I do feel like I haven't seen the other guy, the Martin guy, fight anybody. But if he has more speed and roughly the same technique, it probably would be a bit of a mismatch. Because I did watch him... I did watch Thor... I watched his fight and I watched his sparring. And he was relatively slow in terms of his punching speed, which also kind of, if he wasn't as big as he is, his power is probably not, that as significant as if he was a lighter, leaner, faster version of himself. I think a lot of when he fought Eddie Hall, a lot of it had to do with fatigue as well, because Eddie Hall didn't really take it serious, so he wasn't in really good condition. Because Eddie is faster. Like, I watched, he has faster punches. He's faster. He's not as tall. He's not as long, but he is faster, and his punching technique is better. But he clearly did not take that serious. I think if he did take it serious, he would have beat Halfthor. And that's just because, I mean, some people are just better than others at certain things. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, yeah, I think if you let someone punch you in general, it's not going to feel good. And it would be, I mean, obviously no one would want to take a punch from a big-ass dude like that. I mean, ain't nobody taking a free punch from that guy. But I would probably tell you that you'd be surprised you would probably be more surprised that it wouldn't be as strong as you thought it was, right? It's like a lot of, punching is such a technique, like punching perfectly, using the mechanics of your body correctly to actually deliver a strong, powerful punch. It's one of those things that a lot of fighters, it takes a long time for a lot of people to get good at, and some people never really do. There are quite a few much smaller people who would punch significantly harder at the end of the day. And that probably also has a lot to do with the fact they haven't trained that their whole life. A lot of that comes with just consistent training for a long period of time. And I don't mean like 5 years. I mean like decades of time. Or at least the better part of a decade worth of time. Oh, I mean, Tyson now might give them a run for their money in terms of just over, like if they were in a boxing match. I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, he is up there in age. Maybe I would say shave out like 10 years ago. Tyson would probably knock those guys out. Like just 10 years ago. Now, I mean, granted, they do say power is the first thing to go in terms of your punching power. However, I mean, the guy's just old. Like I remember he was supposed to fight Jake Paul. I hope that does not happen. Like I don't feel like he. I mean, I just don't want to see an older Mike Tyson fighting a young kid. Like even, and if he loses, like it's just not gonna look good. It doesn't look good. And Jake Paul, like, is the perfect. Like Jake Paul is like the perfect example of what you would get if you took an average or slightly above average person in terms of their genetics, their potential to be an athlete, and then you gave them like infinite resources and also performance enhancing drugs, and that's what he is. Like he's like that guy, and I think he's good at boxing, and I don't think it's I mean, he definitely focused primarily on throwing power punches, and I would not like to see Mike Tyson at his age with the level of degenerative, you know, with the, I mean, he's been out of the sport for a while, but he still took a lot of punches, man. He took a lot of punches to the head. His career did not end pleasantly. Jake Paul needs to get. Are you talking about Jake Paul needs to get in the octagon, like do like MMA? Yeah, I think, you know, I don't know. I think he has a thing, you know. I think he has a thing. He's like got a carve out here for himself. A lot of people want to. He's like Jake Paul is like the. He's like the normal man's Floyd Mayweather, right? People bought Floyd Mayweather fights to see him lose, and he never did. And I think that's a very hard thing to get people. Imagine people buying your fights, no matter what they are, just to watch you lose, and you don't lose, and then they buy the next fight, and you convince those same people that you know it's going to be this ridiculous fight, and it turns out it's not this ridiculous fight, and you win again. I think it's actually pretty interesting. I would not like to see him, you know, I think most people want to see him get hurt, and I don't think that's I don't want to see him get hurt. I mean, he is young. He could definitely transition into MMA. And I would say with his wrestling background, he would probably do better there than he would do in professional boxing, like in terms of where he would end up in the ranking system. But for the most part, you know, at the end of the day, you can only do so much with whatever you're given. He does have infinite resources. He can get the best trainers, the best everything. So he would definitely do better than average, but it would probably take him longer to get better at that than just boxing. MMA is just one of those, it's an interesting beast, you know what I mean? It's like it takes so much effort to be good at it, and to be great at it is just like, I mean, that's a one in a billion, you know what I mean? Like it's an interesting sport that requires a lot of dedication. Especially for like the payoff, you know? Yeah, that's how the events work, Kettle. You do an event, you get a bunch of XP, you do the dungeon itself, it doesn't barely give you anything. Yeah, I'd like to see it too. I think he doesn't get enough credit for his work ethic. I think he works really hard. Like, I mean, granted, you know, he has the money, he has the time, he has everything. But that doesn't mean anything. So many people have... I feel like people don't understand, like, plenty of people have everything that another person has, but they don't have the same outcome, and that typically is because 2 separate work ethics, 2 separate levels of dedication. And he's clearly very dedicated and takes it very seriously. So it would be interesting. Like I said, I think he would do very well. I think he would do above average, but I don't think he would be great by any measure of the word. Which is still insanely good. Like, I mean, I think people lose perspective pretty quickly when they start talking about athletes. I'm actually really, I don't really follow them or anything. Like, I don't follow their, you know, I'm just like on social media every now and again. But I'm actually really surprised at how great of a professional wrestler like Logan Paul turned out to be. Like, that guy, he has really great genetics. Obviously, he uses performance-enhancing drugs, but that's kind of what you have to do. I've seen some of the clips and stuff on like X or whatnot from other things people post, because I'll watch the occasional wrestling clip here or there, so it'll get in my algorithm. And I was like, wow, man, that guy is literally one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. Like, his ability, his talent at his size, his overall, like, I watched him do the springboard moonsault at whatever the pay-per-view was, at the popular clip that was running around. I was like, damn, that guy's actually really good. Yeah, here and there. I'm actually about to end the stream soon, because I'm gonna work out with my wife. So I'm gonna start. I've been trying to focus more, getting in my training and stuff. I need to be more dedicated. I really do. I would like to make it a part of my channel. I really would, but I just have to get that level of dedication back that I used to have. Before I don't like to do things half-assed, so. I also seen, Speed, I show Speed. I seen him jump over the sports cars. I thought that was pretty interesting. Not necessarily a smart thing to do, because if even one thing goes wrong, oh my God, that's a catastrophe. You know what I mean? Like, you could die. But it was pretty amazing to watch. I wonder, like, what gave him that idea? Like, what gave him the idea to just decide, I'm going to jump over a sports car today? It's not like he needed the viewership. It's like, literally, it's not like he needs to go, like, I guess, he does enough crazy anti-key type stuff. I mean, he goes viral for things all the time, like, but I mean, he is young, and young people tend to do crazy things, so. Yeah, man, I got everything else, man. I have a beautiful family. I have my own home and everything. But I'm gonna tell you what I miss. I miss being in shape really bad. And I'm taking it for granted. You know, it's like you take every day for granted. You wake up every day. You think you're gonna go to sleep every day. You're gonna wake up the next day, and unfortunately, you know, sometimes some people take it for granted all the way up to the point where they don't live anymore, and that's and I don't want that to be the case. So I miss being in shape. I miss my health, and I know how good it feels to be in shape, and how good it feels, and how much more activity I have, and how much more I can get done in a day. So it's not one of those wants, it's more of a need. It's like a desperate need to get back to a much better place, a much better condition than what I currently am in, you know. And I'm kind of, I would say I'm blessed. You know, I typically am capable of more than most average people. I'm not crazy. I don't have any like top tier genetic or anything, but I would say like I'm probably above average in terms of like overall strength and endurance, things like that. And I've always had that. But, you know, like most people, I take it for granted and I think like, you know, oh, I can just do this any day. I can just get back in shape. It's no big deal. But the truth is, it's like, I'm getting older, man. I'm getting older, and at some point, it's not going to be that easy. At some point, it's going to feel like it's damn near impossible. So. Ugh. You got it, man. Yeah, no one beats Father Time. No one beats that guy. He wins it every single time, 100%. The guy takes no L's. And you can either age gracefully or you can age like the Australian chick that was breakdancing at the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just looks bad. Just looks really bad. Nice. Yo, I just hit the... Yeah, I think I just gotta get a better pair of these, Fists of Fate with higher damage. I had one that was like 260 that had decent affixes, but... All right, just Bane and Tracker, because when I get an Andes, I'm gonna need those. Alrighty guys, that's going to be it for the stream for today. However, I will be back on tomorrow, and I'll probably finish up leveling this build off stream. I just got to go work out, and we'll get it situated, and then I'll be able to get the Stormclaw build out, and then I'll be working on the Poisonclaw variation. But anyway guys, if you're interested in any of these builds, I have it in the link of this stream or in any of the videos that I've covered Season 5 with. And I have several other builds I plan on working on, like Shred, Pulverize, you know, a Wolves build. But as always, I hope you guys are having a great day or a great night, depending on wherever you're from. And peace out, guys. I will see you later. Have a good night. See you later, Mike.